Hey everybody, MinerBiker here. Before we get started, I just want to give a big thank you for watching this video. I hope you find it useful and informative. If you would, I'd appreciate it if you give it a like, give it a share, throw a comment down below. It'll help YouTube get it to more people. And if you haven't already, I invite you to subscribe to the channel so you can see more awesome content of where I get to go on this bike with these dogs on my other bike. So once again, just thanks for watching. Now I'll let you get on with the video. I'm going to get on with my ride. So, it's been a year now since I got my Fezzari La Sal Peak. For the sake of full transparency, I am now a brand ambassador for Fezzari bicycles. I was not an ambassador when I first got this bike, but I can honestly say that even if I had not got the opportunity to be an ambassador, this review would still be perfectly valid, and I would still be riding this bike anyways because it's simply that good. So my La Sal has about 2,000 miles on it now and has been put through its paces on a huge variety of rides. Since last fall, this bike has done everything from St. George and Hurricanes Rocky Mesas to epic desert excursions in the San Rafael Swell, from Moab's classic Nar to 11,600 feet high in the mountains at Fish Lake, from Ely's Fears, Tears, and Beers Enduro to winning the pro category at the Eagle Point Enduro, from bike parks to wild wilderness adventures. Looking back on all of that, here's what I think about this bike. So let's start by doing a quick bike check. This bike started out as basically the stock elite build that Fezzari offers, and it has evolved and become more customized since then. So the frame is a size large with 150mm rear and 160mm front travel provided by the original RockShox Super Deluxe and Lyric RC2. The drivetrain is a SRAM GX Eagle 12-speed cassette and shifter, a Shimano 12-speed derailleur, and a KMC 12-speed chain. And yes, the Shimano and SRAM components do mix and match just fine, and I've always had better luck with the durability of Shimano's derailleurs, so when my GX one wore out, I got the Shimano one instead. I'm running a 34-tooth absolute black oval chainring on 170mm race face turbine cranks. The bash guard and chain guide are by One-Up Components. Pedals are the Catalyst pedals by Pedaling Innovations. I'll throw a link to a separate video for more info and review on these pedals. Brakes are the TRP Quadium 4-piston brakes with 180mm rotors front and rear. Wheels are Stans Flow MK3 rims laced on Onyx hubs. Personally, I prefer solid alloy rims like these over carbon, and absolutely love the instant engagement and complete silence of the Onyx rear hub. The tires I'm currently running are the Maxxis Assegai tires front and rear, both 29 by 2.5, and set up tubeless with stand sealant. These tires are insanely grippy, but actually roll pretty good considering how aggressive they are, and I like having the same tire front and rear, so when the rear one wears out, I can rotate the front to the back and put a new one on the front as a way of getting the most out of the life of a tire. Also, after having issues with pinch flats on the rear at the Abajo Enduro in August, I have been running a Vittoria Airliner insert in the rear tire, and it's been doing its job so far. Cockpit is the stock race face 35mm long turbine stem and turbine R bars, which I've cut down to 760mm wide, which is where I like them. Grips are absolute black dual density silicone grips. Dropper post is 170mm One-Up Components post paired with a One-Up remote. Saddle is an Ergon SM Men. This complete build brings the bike to right around 30 pounds. So La Sal is famous for having two bottle mounts inside the front triangle, which is awesome. As you can see, I use one for a bottle cage and the other for these Problem Solvers bow tie strap mounts where I can strap a second bottle or extra tools or even bear spray or whatever else I might need for a particular ride. Since Fezzari introduced this bike at the end of the summer of 2018, it has drawn quite a bit of attention and is hyped up as being able to compete with the best from any other bigger brand. Well, after having ridden a lot of bikes from a lot of other brands, Santa Cruz, Evil, Ibis, Transition, and Rocky Mountain, just to name a few, before getting this bike, I can verify that the La Sal not only holds its own, but in many ways exceeds the performance of pretty much any other bike I've ridden. The number one thing about this bike that suits my riding perfectly and that I absolutely love is how incredibly all-around capable it is for a long travel bike with aggressive geometry. It pedals amazingly well and can climb right along with the shorter travel, lighter trail and XC bikes, largely thanks to the steep 78-degree seat tube angle. In general, a long travel enduro bike is not ideal for 30-plus mile rides with over 5,000 feet of climbing, but I've done several incredible rides like that this year on the La Sal, and thanks to its comfortable pedaling and efficiency, I've never found myself wanting a different bike under me. Even with the 4-bar suspension system, pedal bob is relatively low and I rarely use the shock lockout other than occasionally on long smooth climbs where I want to stand up and crank hard for a long time. Otherwise, I leave it wide open and the bike climbs incredibly well, especially up loose and techie climbs where traction is essential and hard to come by. I've honestly never ridden a bike that climbs up techie trails better than the La Sal does. When it's time to point this bike downhill, you're in for a treat. It's not an absolute monster truck like some long travel 29ers are, but usually I am definitely the limiting factor, not the bike. The travel is nice and plush, but ramps up well to take big hits. It is stable and planted like a bike with a long wheelbase and slack head angle should be. But like I said, it doesn't just monster truck everything. It maintains a good level of playfulness and still lets you feel the trail and is pretty easy to throw around and maneuver. This bike has been down the likes of Captain Ahab, Grafton Mesa,
Really busy right now.
and free lunch.
Yeah, that's cool.
As well as some pretty gnarly enduro stages and bike park runs. And after a year, it's still my favorite bike I've ever ridden for going downhill. One other thing I'll throw in is about technical trail riding. There are times when the long wheelbase is noticeable when trying to maneuver through tight tech, but overall this enduro bike makes a pretty awesome aggressive trail bike too, as it maneuvers well and pedals extremely well, and also has the long travel when things get wild. I ride a lot around St. George and Hurricane in the winter, and for everything there from Zen Trail to Gooseberry Mesa to Paradise Rim, the La Salle is as good as you're going to get. I do have a 27.5 plus wheel set that I used interchangeably with the 29ers on this bike through last winter and spring. I haven't used them through the summer though, and I've found that for me at least, there's not a huge difference in performance between the 27.5 by 2.8 tires and the 29 by 2.5 tires, since the weights are comparable and the contact patch on the ground is close to the same. Also, with the tire insert in the rear, I'm able to run about the same pressures in the 29ers as I did in the Plus tires. That said, the La Salle is equally awesome and just a bit different with the 27.5 Plus wheels on. I have also experimented with running the bike with a mullet setup with the 29er on the front and the 27.5 on the rear. This made the bike slightly better for jumping and railing corners, but it noticeably didn't carry as much momentum in the tech and fast sections. Personally, I'm sticking with the 29er setup as it suits the vast majority of my riding the best. However, even with the 29ers, I do run the geometry flip chip in the higher position. I do notice and like the additional pedal clearance it provides and don't feel that there's really any negative effect when descending or cornering. As far as any issues with the bike, there have only been a couple of things come up. There was a problem with the rocker link on the very early La Sal's where the geometry flip chips could develop a little play. Also, the original shock mounting bolts were very easy to over torque and break the heads off of. Fezzari has since come out with a better rocker link and new bolts that are on all new La Sal's, and they've been great to work with and provide upgrades for anyone having issues with the original parts on the early bikes. Also, on my bike at least, the stock chainstay protector started to come off, so I made a new one out of 3M rubber electrical tape. It's quieter than the original one, anyways. Other than that, the bike has been bomb proof so far, besides normal maintenance and wear items. If you're doing mostly just trail riding without many big hits or high speeds, the La Salle is probably not going to be ideal, and maybe more bike than you want or need. If you're a cross-country slash trail rider, probably look elsewhere at something like Fezzari's Signal Peak, which is an incredibly capable cross-country slash trail bike. But if you're someone like me and you don't want to be held back on the downhills, you want to hit hard, maybe even do some enduro racing, while still being able to have a blast on a normal trail ride, or get out and pound out some big miles all on the same bike, then you'll be hard pressed to find something better than the La Salle. I have ridden this bike across almost the entire spectrum of mountain biking disciplines, and like I said before, I usually hit my limit before the bike does. The only riding that I do that the La Salle struggles with is snow riding and some of my backcountry adventures that involve a lot of sand, which is why my only other bike is a Fezzari Kings Peak fat bike. Between the two of them, the La Sal Peak and the Kings Peak can not only do but absolutely excel at pretty much any and every ride I want to do. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and check out my other videos showing the amazing places I've been able to go and ride this bike. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below if you have any additional questions. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed it.